As North Carolina struggles to rebuild after Hurricane Helene, an unexpected complication has surfaced that stands to make matters more dangerous. It has to do with all the kindling inadvertently created in the aftermath. Lisa Fletcher reports.
First, there were the floods that swamped towns and the high winds that knocked forests to the ground. Now the state is facing catastrophic fires, more devastating because of the storm's aftermath.
Breaking right now at 5, emergency crews in Old Fort have ordered local residents to evacuate as an out-of-control wildfire spreads with zero containment.
Fire season has come early to the Carolina mountains. Low humidity and millions of downed trees across some 800,000 acres left in the wake of Hurricane Helene have created a tinderbox of well more than 1,000 square miles. It's an enormous task, a challenge witnessed by new Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins.
Driving up into the hills to see it, the devastation in terms of the trees that were knocked over and the fuel that is added, because it creates a scenario where the fires can spread more quickly and where they have more timber to burn through. So it is a significant challenge that our teams are working through.
7 million tons of downed and drying trees have put state forestry fire crews on edge.
So it looks like we're coming into an area that's pretty charred up here.
So this is the Crooked Creek fire. It started last Wednesday.
Chris Sharpton is the state's regional fire manager.
It's a good-sized fire.
Absolutely, especially for this time of year.
That fire came under control just days before our arrival. Others ignited, burning 1,000 acres.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest with you.
In the years ahead, it is likely that western North Carolina and multiple states in the southeast will experience more intense fire seasons because of the scale of the downed timber.
The most severe damage is on the upper slopes of ridge tops and mountain tops, where typically those forests are dominated by oaks and hickories. Those species deteriorate much more slowly than southern yellow pine, yellow poplar, and red maple.
You're talking about this stuff isn't going to rot out very fast, so it's going to remain as a good fuel source for fires for longer.
Right. We're in an area where our fuel conditions have changed, and they're going to be much different for the next 10, 15, maybe even 20 years.
To give you a sense of how big the problem is, this is just one of 100 piles of logs that have been salvaged from just this spot of land. And this is just scratching the surface. In fact, in a neighboring county, more than 1/3 of the forest is on the ground after Hurricane Helene.
And it's not just a physical threat, but a financial one, too. Helene caused some $4.1 billion in direct damage to North Carolina's agriculture sector, which includes public and private forests, much of which are so dense and difficult to access that even removal by helicopter, like what was done in 1990 after Hurricane Hugo in South Carolina, is nearly impossible.
When Hugo hit South Carolina, there was a lot of work to take debris out of the way, even airlifting some debris. Would that be helpful in North Carolina to see some of that scale of debris removal?
Particularly in areas surrounding homes, it's not really feasible to go through the woods and pick up some of this debris.
And with the amount of debris far beyond the financial and physical ability of the state to address, the people living in the mountain communities are living in fear of a second disaster.
Well, for me, it's almost a daily grieving.
Jennifer Boyce has called this valley, 20 minutes from downtown Asheville, home for 46 years and says she lost between 200 and 300 trees on her property alone. This is the view from her porch before the storm and after.
It's kind of a double whammy for you, too, because you had the devastation from Helene, and then you have the debris from Helene,
right,
which creates a whole new problem with wildfires.
That's true.
So, where does an impending disaster stack up against one that has yet to be fully repaired? Or, to quote one famous North Carolina songwriter, who will cover the costs for those who have seen both fire and rain?
Does North Carolina get the kinds of resources it needs to have such a high rank in terms of its vulnerability to wildfires? Or do you guys need more?
So we actually do have quite a few asks of both the federal government and state government for funding for more positions, more equipment, basically things to support the increased fuel loading. So we have the capability to mitigate some of these hazardous fuels.
Did North Carolina ever get much federal or FEMA money for recovery? We heard about all the controversy.
Right. Well, FEMA told us that there was about $400 million allocated for North Carolina residents after Helene. Most of that has already been distributed. But Governor Josh Stein is asking the Trump administration for an additional $19 billion, which would go for Helene recovery, and they would also go to prevent future wildfires.
Wow, that's a lot more.